Hey, seventh grade history, it is Tuesday. And Tuesday means that we're one day closer to the end of the school year. There was something with that, and I didn't know where I was going. Anyway, it's Tuesday. We are talking about, in section 2 of chapter 11, we're talking about inventors. And I love the idea that we as Americans invent things. We look at a situation, we look at a problem, and we say, I don't like how that looks. There's got to be an easier way. And so we talked last week about mechanization. And of course, mechanization, for those of you who don't remember, is the idea that we use machines to do the work instead of having people do it. Well, there were people that came up with some things, and they're mentioned in your book. Okay, for example, John Deere. Now, if you're from farm country where I'm from, John Deere is almost like a god that they worship. Actually, there was one guy I heard, and I'll tell you this story. There was one guy a farmer, who actually died, and on the inside of his casket, there was a picture of a John Deere tractor. That's how big this is. Well, John Deere didn't start out making tractors because tractors weren't invented. He actually invented the iron plow. And you say, well, what do you mean? Well, they used to have a horse would pull a plow, and if you've ever been to Cracker Barrel, they have them on the walls. Well, the plow, the actual thing that dug in the ground, was wooden. Well, wood breaks and it rots. And so the idea of making it out of iron, a guy by the name of John Deere came up with that concept, created it, and started selling it, and it sold like crazy. And now you can buy a lawn tractor, you can buy a disker, you can buy all these green things made by, of course, John Deere. Cyrus McCormick came up with the reaper. Back in the day, there was a guy with a long sickle. If you ever seen the Grim Reaper, that long stick with the pointy thing on the end, that is a reaper. That is what's called a scythe. And so they used to go out and they used to literally cut the grass, cut the wheat by taking this thing and chopping it down. Well, now they actually have a thing where it goes around in circles and it takes the wheat off the top and it takes the chaff part, which is that stalk, throws it in the air, and it takes that little grain on top, and that's the wheat. And Cyrus McCormick came up with that and said, wouldn't it be easier, instead of cutting this stuff and then beating it and do whatever you got to do with it, to get this little piece of wheat off this stalk that's probably 24 inches long? Wouldn't it be easier if we just had a machine that did that? And he created that. Then there was a guy by the name of Eli Whitney, and Eli Whitney invented the cotton gin. Now, let me explain. Cotton comes in little pod, opens up like that, and there's a cotton ball in there, and you reach in there and pull it out. But when you reach in there and pull it out, it's got seeds in it. Well, there used to be a guy who used to sit there with cotton balls and pull seeds out. Make a stack of seeds, okay? Eli Whitney invented this machine that you feed the cotton in there, and it goes through these wheels and spits the seeds out. So instead of literally being a cottonseed picker, they have a machine that does it now. And so we still have the same basic concept to this day. All this stuff made farming easier. It made farming cheaper. It made it go faster. Farmers made more money. There was more food. There was more clothing. There was more opportunities. And that made the country better. So there are 3 inventors that made our lives in the 21st century better, even though it was 150, 160 years ago. Just wanted to give you that. Hopefully you're keeping up with your studies. And hopefully you have a great day.